Problem solving. Multiply two-digit numbers. Boys and girls have now learned 3 different ways to multiply two-digit factors by two-digit factors. But as they have also learned, nobody is ever going to come up to them and ask them on the spot, what is 39 times 27? It's not how life works. Rather, we need to learn this skill in order to solve real-life problems. Let's have a look. Suppose we had this problem before us. It says, during the 2010 Great Backyard Bird Count, an average of 42 bald eagles were counted in each of 20 locations throughout Alaska. In 2009, an average of 32 bald eagles were counted in each of 26 locations throughout Alaska. Based on this data, how many more bald eagles were counted in 2010 than in 2009? Show your work. So the first thing we do is we want to identify the question that we are actually trying to solve. And that is, how many more bald eagles were counted in 2010 than in 2009? And now we have to figure out, well, do we know how many bald eagles were counted in 2010? And if we come back up here to our problem, it says during the 2010 backyard bird count, an average of 42 bald eagles were counted in each of 20 locations. That does not tell us a grand total of how many bald eagles in all were counted. So we're going to have to calculate that. And the problem would be 42 times 20. 42 times 20. So that will tell us how many bald eagles were counted in 2010. We'll have to solve that. Likewise, we need to know how many bald eagles were counted in 2009. Coming back to our problem, it says in 2009, an average of 32 bald eagles were counted in each of 26 locations. Again, we do not have a grand total. We're going to have to calculate that. So that would be 32 times 26. So we're going to need to solve that problem. And that'll tell us how many bald eagles were counted in 2009. But that still doesn't answer our question of how many more bald eagles were counted in 2010 than in 2009. We'll eventually have an answer of 2010 and 2009. But as we've learned throughout our years in elementary school, this how many more tells us it's a subtraction problem. So we know that there will be more in 2010 than in 2009. So once we have that number, we'll subtract 2010 minus 2009, and that will be our answer. Let's do the work. So 42 times 20. And again, the boys and girls are free to use whatever method of multiplication works best for them. We'll be using multiplying with regrouping here. We are going to round our factors. 42 will round to 40. 20 will stay at 20. Basic fact is 4 times 2 is 8 with 2 zeros. So we're expecting an answer of about 800. Because we rounded 42 down, our answer will be slightly larger than 800. We're going to cover up the 2. 0 times 2 is 0. 0 times 4 is 0. I tell the boys and girls that when we're multiplying by 0, you can just leave the 1 0 there because they'll all be zeros at that point. We will smile as we think about our best friend. And we'll move over to 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. We will add these numbers together and get 840. And compare that to our estimate of 800. We said it should be about that, but a little bit more. So this shows us how many bald eagles were counted in 2010. Now let's work on 2009. That was 32 birds counted in 26 locations. Again, we want to round our factors. 32 rounds to 30. 26 rounds to 30. We multiply those together. 3 times 3 is a basic fact of 9, and we add on 2 zeros. We rounded this one up and this one down, so this should be pretty close to the right answer, although I have a feeling it'll be a little bit larger. Our estimate's a little bit larger than the actual answer because we're rounding up more here than we rounded down there. So we again cover up the 2. We're going to ask ourselves 6 times 2 is 12. Put the 2 down, carry the 1 and circle it. 6 times 3 is 18, plus 1 is 19. We think of our friend. We smile. Now we're going to cover up the 6. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 3 is 6. We'll add these together. 2 and a happy face is 2. 9 and 4 is 13. Carry the 1 and circle it. 1 and 1 is 2. Plus 6 is 8. 832 is about 900. So this is how many bald eagles were counted in 2009. So we have how many in 2010, how many are in 2009. Now we need to, if you recall, subtract. So we'll take 840, which is how many bald eagles were found in 2010, and we're going to subtract from that 832. That's how many birds were counted in 2009. And we'll do the 0 minus 2 cannot be done. We borrow from the 4. He becomes a 3. The 0 becomes a 10. 10 minus 2 is 8. 3 minus 3 is 0. 8 minus 8 is 0. So how many more were counted in 2010 than in 2009? 8 bald eagles. We return to our question. How many more bald eagles were counted in 2010 than in 2009? 8. 8 bald eagles, or 8 more bald eagles were counted. So when we are problem solving, multiplying 2-digit numbers, we often have multiple steps. We had 3 steps to complete in order to come across the answer to this. First, we had to calculate how many birds were counted in 2010. Then we had to calculate how many birds were counted in 2009. And then we subtracted the one from the other. That is how we come up with our answer. This is how we problem solve multiplying 2-digit numbers.